We had a lot more register. We had a lot more register, but I'm sure they'll join us as we move along. Welcome, everyone. We're usually at this time we present a speaker that is the expert in something, and we also feel that you guys are the experts. So we just wanted to make sure that we have programs that are addressing your needs. So we wanted a little quiet time to be with you and talk about what's coming up for you, and learn a little bit about what's going on in the SJCA world. So Julie, do you want to talk about?
Sure. Welcome, everybody. So today we wanted to hear from you and give you some updates on things that we've been working about. I did send a survey prior to the event to ask you what topics were on your mind and what you wanted to address. Most of you said that you wanted to discuss tech tips and virtual programming information. I know that's a hot topic for everyone. We're all creating a lot more virtual programs these days, and it can be difficult to understand how to navigate that world if you're not super familiar with it, as well as what to do with those recordings post-event when you have to edit them and house them online. So we've got Mike, I'm going to slaughter your last name.
You're trying.
Zabriskie?
Pretty close. Zabriskie.
Okay, pretty close. I'll count that.
Yeah, 10. We're good.
Yeah. So he works for Stockton in their production department. So he is an expert on all things Zoom and virtual programming. So I asked him to attend today so that he could help us facilitate some conversation around that topic. Some of you also wanted to get some updates on legislative and resources available to you. And then we were going to do a roundtable share so that everyone could just talk a little bit about what they're working on, and we can find out if there are any ways that our work is overlapping or that we can collaborate or support the work that you're doing. So I know that Mike is extremely busy, so I want to get to his topic first, but real quick, if we could just go around the room. If I call your name, you just want to say who you are, what organization you work for, if you're an independent artist, and then we'll go around the room and let Mike have time for the virtual text and tip talk. So why don't we start with Steve Steiner.
Hi, Steve Steiner, producing artistic director at Surflight Theater. And I'm also the chair of the Ocean County Business and Tourism and Development Committee and treasurer of Art Pride, New Jersey.
Fantastic. Thanks, Steve. And Steve is an invaluable board member of SJCA too. We were just talking about how he helps us to solve all of our problems. He's a great resource. Okay, Beth, would you like to go next?
Sure. I am the director of Rowan Community Music School and Educational Partnerships, and I'm meeting you all for the first time. I just started in September, and nice to see you all. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us, Beth. I know we just got you into the SJ Camp listings and put your profile up just the other day, so we're glad to have you aboard. Okay, Mike, do you want to give yourself a formal introduction?
I could. Okay, I am unmuted. Great. Okay, so hi, everyone. Pleasure to meet all of you. So again, my name is Michael Zabriskie. I serve on professional staff here at Stockton University. Specifically, I am the senior liaison for the Communication Studies program, which is under the School of Arts and Humanities. So here I do assist with technical needs for all of our media production courses. We also have a TV studio on campus that I work with students on to produce local television shows, and that's pretty much where I'm at. And you're right, it's busy.
It sounds very busy.
But yeah, nice to meet everyone. So yeah, and I'm here at with the SJCA to talk just a little bit about like I said, listen to see what folks are thinking and considering in terms of technical for your specific needs. I will be back next month. Details to follow with Julie, of course, and I'll be doing a bit more of a deep dive when considering production elements, or that'd be for, when you're starting off with lighting, audio, camera, and then going into, some basic stuff with post-production and working with, what resources you might have on hand and such. Because yes, me being over at Stockton, I am spoiled to a degree with my resources. That's not the case for everyone. And that's what I'm here to do, is help kind of like figure out that bridge for what you have that or could acquire that would work for you. So
Great. Thank you so much, Mike, for being here. And Diane, you want to go next?
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here today. I am the executive director of the Riverfront Renaissance Center for the Arts in Millville. We've actually been open since August of last year, but prior to that, we're doing the virtual things. I had to learn a lot of putting, videos together of our art submissions and things like that. It was actually quite exciting and fun because my background is graphic design, so I kind of had a little help in that department in my prior things. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting a few more tips. Even though we are open, I'm still, trying to offer some video things because not everyone's coming out. Luckily, our main audience that does come out is in that age bracket of most people who are vaccinated, so we're a little more comfortable. We were only 25 people at a time allowed. Now it's 50 because our capacity is only 100 anyway. But yeah, the artists have been doing well here, so we're happy about that. But looking forward to all the conversations ahead.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Glad to have you. And Asaya?
Hi, everybody. I'm Asaya Kurtz. I'm at Camden Fireworks. I'm their new executive director. I've been in the role since January of this year. We are a small community-based arts organization, and we are not currently open to the public. Hoping to do that in August, September, but we primarily are looking at how to grow, nurture, and identify artists of color, Black and Brown people in particular, who live in the Waterfront South District of Camden. So thanks for having me.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Asaya also serves as a member of our change team working with Of by 4L to help us connect with those communities as well. So she's been an invaluable member of our team. And Camden Fireworks is currently kind of revisiting their social media strategy and what they're doing with social media. So I asked Asaya to join us today to help facilitate that portion of the conversation, because all of these digital programs obviously go hand in hand with social media and having them housed online for people to access. So thank you for taking time today. We're going to tackle that topic first as soon as we get 2 more introductions. So if you have to, I know you had a busy schedule, so you and Mike can pop out as soon as we cover that. And Terrell Thompson.
Hi, it's Terrell Thompson.
Terrell.
I'm with Wheaton Arts and Cultural Center. We're on the Lenape lands of Millville, New Jersey. And we are currently open 3 days a week on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11 to 4, and doing all kinds of extra special cleaning. And we have safety precautions in place and limited capacities for each of our buildings to make customers and visitors feel safe.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. Okay, and then last but not least, Mark.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Morgan. I'm, like Steve, a producing artistic director for the Moorestown Theater Company. We just opened a production of Matilda Jr. last night outside in a parking lot. We're probably going to get rained out tonight, unfortunately. Steve, I got to find out where you got your big tent, and I'd love to. I have permission to put a tent over my parking lot. Ocean
tents, and they've got a place on your side of the state as well as over here by us.
Did you buy it or rent it?
Sorry to interrupt your introduction, by the way.
Right. Or we can talk. Let's talk.
We rented the big one for the theater and bought the smaller one for the ice cream parlor.
All right. Well, I'll get back to that when we're going round robin or whatever. We have not done anything virtually, Michael. We've stayed away from it. We put a virtual summer camp on our website last summer, and kids were too zoomed out, too much Zoom fatigue, and we had pretty much no one register. When the governor said, hey, you can go live theater camps on July 6th, we jumped at it, and we did 3 shows outside the parking lot last summer, and we've done a couple more since. And so we've been live and doing live musicals ever since June. And I've got an Aladdin in 2 weeks and a Beauty and the Beast a couple weeks after that. And then I get busy with summer camp and 6 shows and an all ages show this summer. So I'll be glad to hear what you have to add, Michael. I'm just glad I haven't been going virtually and that we've been able to keep doing live theater here in South Jersey. Thanks.
That is fantastic. Thanks, Mark, for coming. I made a note about the tent rental and to get back to the reopening topic, so you and Steve can touch on that
Okay.
either in this meeting or offline. Great. Okay, so that's everyone who has joined us this morning, and thank you all for taking the time. It's really important that we connect with the community directly to understand, what your questions are, what your challenges are, to make sure that we are providing programs and supports and ways that you can collaborate with others in South Jersey to help meet your needs. So without taking up too much more time, I think we should get to this tech topic. This was the one that everyone mentioned that they wanted to hear more about. So I know that we're all doing slightly different work. Is there any specific questions that anyone has that they can bring up that either Mike can address on the tech and Zoom side, or maybe Asaya can talk a little about what she's doing with social media?
You guys want to go out?
Mark.
I guess Mark is unmuted.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
ask
gonna-
a question. Michael, I do have a question because I'm an anthropologist, so I'm very much interested in ritual and community building, and trying to take things virtually is really difficult to do because you don't have the opportunity for like small talk and chit chat, those sorts of things, which do play an important role in building relationships. So what we've tried to do is to have kind of an opening ceremony and closing ceremony to our virtual open studios. And because I love music and I am an artist, music's going to be involved. The tricky thing is, how do you seamlessly kind of have music playing that is welcoming and then transition from that to kind of an opening slide? Like, we have trouble with transitions, how to transition from music to
Yeah.
slides to speakers. So if you could kind of talk about that, that'd be great.
So that, yeah, and like that's kind of like it's a great question. Oh gosh. Yeah, that's kind of like one of the things I was going to be talking about in the upcoming event as well, like just a little bit, because not just the music, but transition, because you're talking about like a post. Now I'm assuming this is more like a post-production question where you would need a way to craft that, because this now we say with the virtual, I think the question is, Asaya, when you do these types of events, when you do the virtual, is this the type of event that you would be pre-recording to assemble, or is this all live?
It would be all live. So for
Yeah.
instance, yeah, and what we end up having is we have music and it sounds great, and then we're trying to transition to not sharing sound,
Right.
sharing, just
So
and then you end up looking at someone's face who looks completely confused because they don't know how to get where they're going.
Right, I can help. I could definitely help with some. Now, when you have been doing your virtual events, I think my next question I have for you is, has Zoom been your nest? Have you been doing them through Zoom? Okay, so one of the things that I would need to check, and another question I'll ask, with the Zoom account you specifically use, okay, again, for the for Camden Fireworks, when you, or any events you need to do outside that, of course, do you have a free Zoom account? Do you have a paid Zoom account? Okay, so that helps a bit. Okay, that helps a bit. Okay, so one of the things is literally, now in terms of what I would call directing your cameras, because if you just let Zoom do its own thing, it's going to go to like the camera that it's just going to go to like whatever it thinks is picking up sound from in normal view. And that's why you get the person who's just there and they're like, and they don't even know it. I know this happened to me. I mean, it's because I had all sorts of growing pains with Zoom, and I'm just like, oh boy, okay. And so one thing I can tell you, okay, now obviously you cannot do it in this room right now, because obviously we're all participants, right? But if you're in your own room, and and again, I can certainly give more detail about this, but as you know, you could always, even in this room, you could hover with your mouse over each of our frames, and you'll see that icon upper right-hand corner appear, the blue block with the 3 dots. And if you click that, it gives you a drop-down menu. Now, in this room, those options are very limited, of course, unless you are a host or a co-host. So what you can do, if you're looking, like if you know after the music plays, you want to go, say, to a specific person. Okay, let's use that as an example. What you would do is you can hit that drop down and an option will come up that says Spotlight for everyone. Spotlighting is a huge tool in Zoom that we use every week for our TV shows we produce, because we have to do it virtual right now. And what that does is, say I wanted to spotlight you. I would go over, I would go to your window, I would select Spotlight from everyone on the drop-down menu. And what happens is that forces your camera to everyone in the room. So they only see that. You're directly controlling what they see, okay? That is one way you can do it. You can also, if you had to go to, obviously if you're screen sharing, say like, I don't know, another graphic or source on your computer from the music, you would have to go to your screen share after that. But what I see a lot in Zoom sessions is exactly that, where folks will have an opening item, and but then like it just automatically goes to just like said random camera after the share. There is a way to work around that. And I'd be glad to talk more on that, but that's the short way. Is when on your own, what I would recommend, I've done this, so I don't want you to think I'm like saying something wild. I do this myself. Being at Stockton, I do have a couple of computers nearby that I can use, but I'll have one computer set up to be the room that I'm hosting. And literally I invite myself on another computer and I log in. I invite myself on my phone and I log in, and then I have multiple windows open and I was practicing. And that's one of the things that I did to get used to the controls, to understand it and such. But there is a spotlight for all, and you can spotlight that person. Now, say I spotlight you, but then I want to spotlight Julie. Because you're already spotlighted, I would go to Julie, and then I click the drop down and it's going to say replace spotlight. So Zoom is saying, oh, you want me to replace with the next person. If you click replace spotlight, boom, the next camera comes up, and you just keep replacing. And that's one of the things I would be explaining more at length, because one of the adjustments that I had to do with the students, and the students were outstanding because we were all learning together. Okay, there's never no such thing as a time where you don't learn. And we're all understanding the language in Zoom, because from the production work I have been exposed to in my past, I'm used to a whole different range. And we actually, in our internship, we started creating a different language to communicate to each other, so we knew what we were doing. And so I think one of the things that Zoom is understanding what it can do, and that took time. But for anyone in this room, that's definitely one way is you're spotlighting. Your spotlighting is your way as the host to ensure you know what's going out. Because if you don't have anything spotlighted, then you're just set up to general speaker view, which obviously we all know. We go to speaker view or gallery view, right? We see all the blocks, right? But in speaker view, it is susceptible. It's going to, Zoom will auto default to wherever it thinks there's sound. If none of us are talking and someone's camera picks up a sound of a car nearby outside, it's going to go to that camera because it's going to hear the sound, and Zoom doesn't know any better. It's just designed to do what it's doing, right? So, spotlighting is a way to manipulate that. Now that's one answer I have, but do you have another question in regards that I can help better identify?
No, I think that's really good. That's very in depth. We're just figuring out how to have Spotify play our sound in the background, and that's just growing pains, but I appreciate it.
And one of the downfalls with Zoom is now Zoom, and there isn't really like a better option, if you will, like, not without paying money. Trust me, I actually did research with the, my school here, and we researched to really create a true virtual studio for our students. The costs are just, there's out of bounds. It's just an out of bound market because the people who provide it are few and far, and they know there's a demand, and they're not looking for you. They're not looking for me. They're looking for NBC. They're looking for Food Network. They're looking for all of them who like, yeah, we'll pay the money for it, like not the case with us, because it's very nice what I found online, but it's very expensive. I will say, like, now it's hard. It's not really possible in Zoom in that sense where you would have, say you have a slide up, say, welcome to X event, and you got some music playing. Now, there isn't really a smooth way to like fade, if you will, real nice with the music and the image going to the next thing. Zoom is just chunk, 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 chunk. There is, like through like manual manipulation on your computer, maybe you can, ride out your music and drop it down. When you do that, people are going to see your mouse on screen when you do it. Okay, so it's just to catch the game, but you could do manual manipulation. But there is no such way to like blend, your sources from one to another. Zoom is very blocky like that. That's one of its downfalls. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. But it's not really
thank you.
downfall. Yeah, it's not really a downfall though, because Zoom was never meant for all of this. We're all really taking Zoom and we're like, we're going to do this instead, and it's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely write down audio in Zoom and transitions are as two topics we can talk about more in depth next month when you do your full session. Did anyone else have any tech related questions on something specific that you're working on or a particular issue that you're experiencing? No? Okay, if you think of anything, please let me know, email me. I'm going to keep a running list so that Mike knows what to focus on for next month. And I will send out information about that session just to share my screen real quickly. It's going to be May 25th. Tech Tips for Zoom and Beyond is the name of the session. Mike is going to answer all your questions about all things Zoom and virtual engagement. So that information will come out with the post-event email with the recording as well. So thank you, Mike, and thank you, Asaya, for asking that question. So if there are no other tech questions at this time, does anyone want to talk about social media, what we're doing with social media? So once we video or record these great events and we get the transitions all smooth and our music is just the way we want it and we put them online, how do we let everyone know, and what are we doing to engage with our audiences on social media? Is anyone doing anything that they think is noteworthy or is working for them, or they tried something that didn't work at all and want to share that story with us?
It's not really tech related. It's just we're posting probably twice a day, and we've been getting a lot of interaction and sharing of our posts because they're not all sales or marketing oriented. Sometimes they're just, oh, look, we took these pictures around town because spring is happening, and just stuff like that. Just different stuff all the time. And we're getting a lot of hits on our posts now, much more than we used to.
That's great. I think original content is key to having your social media really have good engagement and be shared and clicked on more often than marketing materials, for sure. It's sometimes difficult to create the content depending on what kind of capacity you've got, but I do definitely see a huge difference when we're posting things that are not always related to events or services that we're providing. Does anyone else have anything on that they want to add? Anything they've noticed with their posts, times of day or frequency? Mark?
I've been doing a theater note of the day for every day since COVID hit, since last March, whether it's something I share from playbill.com or broadwayworld.com, or it's about our shows. funny memes, all the Bernie and his mittens back then when they inserted Bernie into different Broadway scenes. So that's just, I think, been raising awareness. I'm not sure how I measure that, but you know, I some days I get a lot of likes about them and reactions, and other days it's smaller. I'm not sure how to measure that rhyme or reason of response, but like I'm going to be posting one. My note today will be whether we're performing tonight or not. So when 3 o'clock comes and we make a decision, that'll be today's note of the day. But yes, it was opening night. So and it's highlighting staff members, and it's highlighting different classes we have, or if I can't find anything for us, then I go to Playbill or wherever. So we're trying that. I don't know.
That's great. I think you mentioned a couple of key things that are always on my mind when I'm thinking about social media: the analytics, so the tools that Facebook offers you to understand your engagement, your reach, your sharing, the times of day, and how that can affect the reach of your posts and those sorts of things. So maybe that's something we can dig a little deeper into as well, because I think there are a lot of useful tools there that they have added for metrics, but it's not always easy to determine exactly what they're showing and how to navigate that, because Facebook likes to change up their algorithms a lot. So once you figure them out, they change it, and you have to figure them out again, which is always fun. But then you also mentioned creating posts about your team members, which is something that I've been thinking a lot about. We only, our team is Karen and I, we're the only 2 employees of SJCA, but we work with a team of 5 interns that are remote right now. So they're spread out between Rowan and Stockton University. And they've definitely been integral in moving our mapping project forward and helping us do the things that we need to do. And I want to make sure that we highlight them. And I think, you know, connecting on a personal level with your audience is always something that helps with engagement and keeps them feeling connected to you and wondering, you know, what you're doing. You know, if you're taking pictures around town like Steve in the spring, or if you're, you know, posting about your cancellation because of weather, or if you're sharing things about your team members, I think you know, it's nice to have that personal touch so they can relate to you on that level too. So we'll make sure we touch on that again.
Can I share
Okay.
just Julie? So we have, one of the things that I needed to do is really to understand the metrics, as was previously mentioned. So we were able to grow our engagement on Instagram by 31% simply by having a social media calendar. So we were able to plot for every day what we were going to do. But also to make sure that we weren't only talking about ourselves, because we all have those friends who only talk about themselves. So we try to make sure that we are sharing what other artists are doing, whether or not they're connected to fireworks, what other organizations are doing. We are a partner with A New View Camden, and so we try to highlight the work that's being done there. So I think, you know, being able to develop a social media calendar so you're not scrounging around for, you know, content, but also making sure that as much as you share about yourself, you share about similarly situated organizations and partners. That's been really good for us. Interestingly, we find that we don't have as much engagement on Facebook. And I'm not sure exactly why that is, but we're also looking at adding LinkedIn to our platform. We do have a LinkedIn page because we know that we need to reach a certain demographic, and they are not on Facebook or on Instagram when we're talking about professional artists. So, you know, just knowing who you're trying to reach, how frequently, and what content you're sharing has been really good for us to like put some parameters around our social media accounts.
That is a great suggestion. Planning is always key. Diane?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to talk about too, is that point of sharing other arts organizations, your collaborative partners, just in general, things you see that are going on. I think it helps our audience know that we're all working together as much as we can, and it gives them more content. But just like you said, you don't want to always talk about yourself, but of course, that's ultimately what we want, is for people to see what we're doing. But it really does make a difference, because people generally look at the arts as connected somehow. So we're sort of proving that we do share others' information, whether it's performing arts, like we're a visual arts center, but I definitely look for the performing arts and whatever else is going on. So now that I know a few more people in this little group here, I'll keep an eye out for your events and continue to share. Recently, Facebook did change that analytics page and things. So it gets a little, like you said, a little confusing, that they constantly are changing things just to throw us off. But you're right, Instagram's a great spot to be. You can connect the two. We even still, of course, use Twitter, which I don't even pay attention to, but it automatically goes on there. But to cover all those new things like LinkedIn, that's a good idea. So thanks for sharing that.
Great. Thank you, Diane. So what I'm hearing there, and I've heard this before from Asaya and from other groups, and I noticed the same, is that it does seem like engagement with Facebook is declining and the other platforms are picking up. So, you know, anytime you come across a new one, for example, we were in one of our Change Network team meetings, and Jessica Grullon, who is the Associate Director of Admissions there, we were talking with her about how she connects to the Latinx community in Atlantic County. And she said that they use WhatsApp to connect with the community, because there's a lot of family members who might not live in the United States with the Latinx community who is here in Atlantic County. WhatsApp is a way that they can talk seamlessly across platforms with their family members and friends all around the world. So I had used WhatsApp once or twice, but I had never really thought about it as a social media platform. So that, you know, sometimes if you have these conversations about what your partners are doing, you can get little tidbits of information like that can be fruitful for you. Partner sharing, I think, is very important. We definitely try to do that. I would love to try and formalize some sort of process around that. I don't know if anyone else has specific partners that they have agreements with that they frequently share posts, or if it's sort of a search and find mission. You go and take a look at what's happening in your geographic region and you try and share those things. How does that usually work for everyone? Is it kind of a random happenstance that you're sharing these posts, or is there some rhyme and reason to the way that you're looking at sharing with partners on social media?
Well, I will share that what we've tried to do is identify where our gaps are. For instance, we primarily are visual arts, so performing arts is not normally on our radar, but we have kind of informally partnered with like Hip Hop Fundamentals, which is a wonderful organization in Philadelphia, to share some of their posts and vice versa. So it's just a matter of, honestly, me making a phone call or sending an email and say, hey, can we talk? And we just, you know, kind of figure out if there's any sort of interconnection or ways that we can intersect what we're doing. And then we just friend each other and share, just like you would in regular, you know, relationships. So that's been very helpful for us. And also by making those outreaches, wasn't really aware of Reels and Instagram because I'm terrible with stories. So like you're asking me to do more and I'm like not trying to do that. However, seeing how Hip Hop Fundamentals and other organizations are able to like use these short form videos to share their performance, it's been like great. So we're going to like branch into that as well, because it's very much needed on our page.
That's great information. And I think I struggle with the stories too. They've never been one of my strong suits. And Instagram can sometimes be difficult because I spend a lot of time at the computer. So you have to interact with that on a mobile device. So it can sometimes be a little bit clunky. At one point we were using an social media aggregator. So like Buffer or HubSpot or Action Sprout is another one. So there were, you know, there are platforms where you can have all of your social media that you're posting and all the different platforms aggregated into one place so that you can see what you're posting, track your metrics, but hardly any of those work with Instagram. You still have to go on and you can schedule all your posts except for Instagram. So you have to go still manually to do that. So they make it a little bit more difficult, but it's definitely worth focusing on, because Instagram, I think, is definitely garnering more engagement, particularly with the younger crowd, than Facebook is getting at this point. So partner sharing, I think, might bear revisiting too in another conversation, to try and, formalize loosely some sort of process around that. I agree, making those outreach phone calls and having those discussions is huge, because not only do you get to deepen your relationship with that particular partner, but you understand in a broader sense what's happening in the cultural landscape around you and in your area, and you can help each other to share those things. So it's fruitful all around. If you learn any tips and tricks about the reels and stories, please share, because those are things that I definitely need to study up on as well. And I know that video is, very engaging on all social media platforms, and the more visual you can get, the more people are going to click and be interested in what you're posting. Steve?
We've actually come up with a solution for that problem, and that is back out of it completely and let the young people do it. Your interns might be able to actually assist you, or even have story ideas that they'd love to post. We do that with the college age people that we work with as a part of our intern program here. And they're actors as well as on the technical side, but we'll let them just take it over and basically make sure that they have parameters over which they can't cross so that it stays in good taste. But ultimately, we can get a lot of that kind of content that people find very interesting. And it's not really marketing, but it kind of is. So when we're producing shows, which for this year will be July through December, we just assign different people like every 2 or 3 days and get all kinds of content that way, and don't have to do it.
That's fantastic idea. Does anyone else do takeovers, artist takeovers, or where you just kind of hand the wheel over to someone else with parameters, and what kinds of parameters are laid out in those sorts of takeover endeavors? Anyone who does them want to speak to that?
I feel like I'm like taking over the whole thing. I'm so
No,
sorry.
that's all right. I'm asking you the questions and you're sharing the information. We're all benefiting, so it's great.
So we have, as far as our social media accounts, I have 2 artists who are they are residents in Camden Fireworks, who do our social media. So it's not just me, but it's also 2 artists. But we are also going to be partnering with, it's called Unroot Marketing, but they handle Craft Now Philadelphia's social media. So they will be kind of taking over our account to talk about art as an interrogation to environmental justice. They do it much better because they're a marketing firm, so they can show us how to wield this tool in a way that's like maximizes effectiveness. So we are working with them, and it's not necessarily a formal thing. I mean, it does have parameters, and there is kind of a playbook that we have that we're going to go by and like kind of strategize for the duration of the takeover. But it's no funds exchange. It's just partners in the same ecosystem helping each other.
That's great. I love to see those artist takeovers, and that's something that I've been interested in exploring for us as well. Okay, so let me see here on my notes. Anything else that I
Can I say one more thing and then I
Sure.
have to go? I'm sorry. It's about accessibility. Because we find that unfortunately in our desire to be more virtual, sometimes we don't think about the deaf and visually impaired community. And so please make sure that like as much as possible, you're including captioning functionality and not the bad one, like the really good as people are speaking. Because otherwise you are excluding a large part of your audience by not attending to that need. And so I was able to do a kind of a First Friday preview with other artists, and there was a disability arts group in Philadelphia that like they had some great information. I think they're called Disability Now, but I'll find that information so that you can share it, Julie, and so other people can see what disability attending to that looks like.
That would be fantastic. Digital accessibility, I think, is some, people think of accessibility as a physical space a lot of the times, and it's so much more than that, especially now. We happen to run a software that is an AI program that runs in the background of our website. It's called Accessibility. And what that does is uses an AI program to check all the content on each of the pages of your website to make sure that it is accessible, and it provides the functionality where someone can click on it and have just a bevy of tools available to them to change font size and color variations and audio, text, and things like that. It captions all of your photos for you. So it does this automatically every night. It runs a script. So if you add a new page to your website or add new content, it will automatically update that content when it runs the script for you each 24 hours. So it's been very helpful. And that's something that I can share a link and information about too as well in the post-event survey. It is a paid service. I believe it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like $500 a year, which sounds like a lot, but when you think about the number of hours that you are not having to spend creating additional assistance and supports on your site manually, it really is worth it. And they also will do an audit of your site to tell you the places where you're doing well and where the site might need a little bit of help to become more accessible. You're hearing so much more nowadays about lawsuits for accessibility, and people are really being held accountable for not making it a priority. And it has to be a priority. As much as it's a priority to have a wheelchair ramp to get into your site, it's a priority for your digital space to be accessible to anyone that wants to access your program. So it's really important, and thank you for bringing that up, Asaya. I'm definitely going to put that on the agenda for more discussion, because I think there are a lot of tools out there. Great. Okay, so we've talked about, we've got about 15 minutes left. We've talked a lot about technology, and Mike is going to dive deep into that next month at the tips and tech session. So if you have specific questions you think of after, feel free to email me. I can pass those along to him so that he can make sure he's prepping the right topics for the session. And I've been sort of keeping some notes on things we've been talking about, so I can help him with that as well, and thinking about other sessions we might have down the road to address these particular topics. One of you did ask for some legislative and resource updates. Steve, do you think you could help a little bit with that, talking about some of the COVID recovery resources or things that you've used at Surflight to help kind of bridge the gap in this hard time right now?
I can try. It's going to be kind of anecdotal, which means what can I remember?
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, well, obviously, we've done both, been able to be approved for both the first and the second PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. The first one, we got a verbal that it's been 100% forgiven, but I haven't gotten the paperwork on that. I'm still waiting. The second one we just got. We have applied for the Shuttered Venues Operators Grant, which was, I guess, Monday. It was Monday afternoon. And we were fortunate to get in fairly early. And so we'll see what happens with that. That could be just an amazing windfall. And we had the, the early on, the EIDL, the idle grants, the economic injury disaster loan. And we got one of those. And we also, New Jersey Community Capital was helpful to us as well. And we did apply to the State Council on the Arts for the COVID relief. And we did get a grant for that to help us retrofit some of our air handling and other things here, so that we can make sure to have very clean air when we get back inside. And we have applied to the New Jersey Arts. I can't remember the acronym.
Arts and Cultural Recovery Fund.
That's the one. We did not receive the first one. The second round, it went in, and I haven't heard anything yet. So we'll see. There's another one that's phase 4 of the NJEDA grants. We did get funded in phase 3. We didn't in 1 or 2. Got funded in phase 3, and we intend to apply in phase 4. So that's at NJEDA. And so those are the main ones. Oddly enough, we probably would be eligible for the restaurant one because of our ice cream parlor, but we're not going to apply to that just because the restaurants really need that, and we'll stick with the arts things.
Great. Well, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I just know you're so good at navigating those waters. I thought you would be a great point person. Mark, did you have a comment or question?
Yeah, Steve, a question. Opening the show this week, we did not get to apply for the shuttered venues, and we'll try and get to that, and maybe we'll be shut out. Who knows? But I did hear from. I was on another Zoom with Congressman Andy Kim, and his legislative person got back to me because I asked a question about it. This was last week, and she said that if you apply for PPP and get it, which we did as well, the first 2, that will be subtracted from what you request from shuttered venue. Do you know that to be true?
Yes, that's accurate. What they're trying to do is avoid double dipping. What originally set up, you could either apply for PPP or shuttered venues. And actually, the folks at Americans for the Arts went down and lobbied the SBA about this very issue, saying because shuttered venues isn't even going to be available for such a long time. It was April and PPP was like February. So people were worried, well, if I don't apply for PPP and then I don't get shuttered venues, I'm shut out. They saw that problem, and so they said, okay, you can apply for PPP. And if, for instance, you get 50,000 from PPP and your shuttered venues grant would be 300,000. Instead, it would be 250. And I'm making those numbers up.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's the reason for it.
That makes sense. That's what I thought. Okay.
Okay. Diane, did you?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, you mentioned the NJEDA, which we were able to apply for. The first one, didn't get it, got the second one, and the pre-qualification kind of thing. So I think it's May 12th that nonprofits, which are small business in that category, the application will be available. And it's, if anyone did apply, that at 9 o'clock in the morning, you're sitting there trying to get it because it's all quickly gone. But this time they do have on the website quite a few pages of pre-registering, and what that's for is so that they have most of your info. So the application, when it does come up, is quicker. So if you're looking to apply, maybe do that very soon, just so you're ready to go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That one, it's good. I mean, it's not a giant amount of money, but $15,000 is great,
Yeah, we received 5,000 last time, and we were, thrilled because it all matters right now. But yeah, that was definitely the change they made, is having that pre-qualification page. So worth doing. So
Great. And I'm putting some links in the chat here. We try to collect information and links about the grants and available resources. And I just updated it for May. So I did put the link there to the May updates, as well as to our coronavirus resource page, which also has some of the longer term supports, and you can access the information about them there, as well as webinars and DEI resources that we have on the site. So those are there for you to peruse when you have time. So did anyone else have any other questions surrounding?
There's a lot of information on the Art Pride website as well.
Yes,
It's always a very good resource, and they have their monthly things that they do on Friday mornings once a month.
Yes, that's actually coming up on the 21st this month. Their update. So it's the 21st at, I believe, 10 o'clock. I'll put the link to that in the chat too for registration if anyone's interested. They definitely are the experts on the topic, and they will have all of the information, the hot off the presses to share with all of us.
Yeah.
So,
And Mark, Ocean Tents has 2 locations. One is in Mount Holly, which is near you, and the other one is here in Manahawkin. And they serve pretty much all of Central and South Jersey and into Philadelphia. And they're great people to work with. When the hurricane hit us last year, you might have seen the pictures of the tent being pulled apart. They had it back up and ready to use in 2 days.
You're on mute, Mark.
I went mute because my dogs are still going nuts here. You chose to rent the big tent rather than buy one because it's too expensive to buy it. And what was your thought process there, Steve?
It is far too expensive to buy it. We got a very good deal. Of course, last year they were you know, their whole business had gone down the drain because they rent to weddings, you know, and the whole wedding industry just stopped last year.
Sure.
But we got the same price this year. It's $10,000 a month for an open, and that's a substantial amount of money. But buying one would be well over $200,000. Those things are really, really expensive.
The price I got was $50,000 to buy one that would cover my parking lot.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm like a 60 by 60 foot parking lot, so it's not huge, but and that's from, I think, Delaware Valley Tents. I'd have to look it up. But the quote was for 3 shows was like $20,000. So I was thinking, and I have like 7 more shows after those first 3. So that's why I was thinking it might be better to buy it. And
it might. Our tent was 50 by 100, so it was a little larger than 60 by 60.
Sure. All right. Well, I'll check.
We had a 30 by 30 that we bought, a used one for, I think it was like $6,000.
All right. Yeah, I basically need like a 60 by 60 square. All right, but I'll check Ocean Rentals. All right, thank you.
No, it's Ocean Tents.
Ocean Tents. Sorry. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so we only have a few minutes left. We did have a couple people join us late, and we went around and did introductions and just shared where we were from and what we were working on real briefly. So Jacqueline Farmer, do you want to say hello to everyone and let us know what you're working on?
Sure, absolutely. I am the business manager for the West Jersey Music Academy, and we operate out of the First Presbyterian Church of Morristown. We have been virtual since last year, but this week we have started slowly to come back. We have a Music Together program that we had held outside yesterday, 2 sessions, and then we also have one on Saturdays now. That's an 8-week session, and we also, it's one teacher is comfortable with going indoors, and we have 2 other teachers that are part of this program where we provide lessons, individual lessons to students at the Bancroft School in Mount Laurel. So that's just started back up. So we are doing individual lessons. We are also providing like assemblies and highlighting maybe different themes that's taking place throughout the month. So we had National Humor Day. We had I'm trying to think of the other day. We had a World Voice Day That was a couple weeks ago. And then, of course, Cinco de Mayo was coming up, so we will do an assembly for them next Wednesday. So we are kind of slowly taking baby steps and getting acclimated back to what we were doing, and hopefully indoors in due time. We also are providing music therapy groups, two groups right now to students at the Rizza Muro and Associates occupational therapist and speech therapy office in Marlton. So we are a school that provides individual lessons in voice, violin, guitar, piano, drums. I think I said violin, and again, it's all online. We're making our way. We are small. We've only been around since 2017, formed by 4 parents that were with another school that closed down. And so right now, we're going into our 4th year, and so far so good. You know, we haven't lost a lot due to the pandemic, but slowly we see folks are ready to. They're asking, when can we go in person? When can we go in person? And I just want to say, as far as social media, it's really me in the office, so I'm doing as much as I can in juggling. What I've found is that Facebook has been more of a source for us to get where there's interest, and folks really seem to like seeing students perform or practice, even if it's practice, you know. But we get a lot of likes with that. But I agree in terms of everything that was said today, sharing partners, sites, and anecdotes and different things that's happening around the community. Definitely love sharing those things as well as what we're doing. But I appreciate the information. I wrote a lot down, and I definitely appreciate the grant information. So that's who I am, Jackie Farmer.
Well,
Okay,
welcome,
thank you
Jackie. I'm so glad you can make it. And if you come across any other questions, you know, feel free to shoot me an email. Post session, I send out the recording with links and any other information that we gather during the session. So I'll circle back and we can chat a little bit more about what you're working on after. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so now we are at the 2 o'clock hour. So that's the close of our session. But if anyone has other questions, I'm willing to stay on a few minutes longer and gather them so that we can make sure we either touch base offline or we work that into some more virtual connection sessions in future months. We really want to hear from you about what you'd like to see in these sessions, what you find useful. You know, if you're having some successes, we want to hear about that too. We like to focus on the strengths and not always the challenges too. So this would be a good time for anyone to share anything else, open forum.
I just want to remind everyone too that Google is a really good way to promote your businesses. And we've been using a lot of Google ads for different things, especially our family art workshops, and we've seen tens of thousands of responses off of those ads, and people coming to our page and going to all of those different video tutorials that we have that we hadn't seen that kind of traffic to our website before. So I just wanted to throw that out there for other people, because there are the Google Arts grants and everything too that you can easily get, just like we did.
That's a great point. And Google is fantastic for driving traffic to your site. And if you can get the Google Ads grant, that's $10,000 a month in free Google Ads. It's sometimes a little difficult to manage them administratively, but there are some tools out there. And if you if you're not going crazy with having millions of campaigns at the same time, you can definitely manage that in-house. And it's a really great way to drive traffic to your site. I think 75% of our site traffic at one point was coming in through Google Ads. So you want to make sure you look into that, as well as making sure your Google business profile is up to date. And then there's also some information that we can provide you on resources to help make sure the back end of your website is coded with schema that Google likes, because if they can read that Google specific schema, then your events will populate in a Google calendar event. So, you know, if you search theaters in Ocean County, you get general results. But if there are results that, you know, are tagged to that search phrase, and you have a Google ad and your site is coded appropriately, Google will read that and highlight that information in those sidebars and along the top of the site as a featured event. So there are lots of ways to dig in and make Google work for you. I think that's probably a series of sessions to talk about all that Google can do for you. But we do have resources if you're interested in learning more about that. I can point you to a couple of people who are experts in that topic, and they can certainly help you address whatever you're working on with Google. Okay, is there anything else before we close? No? Okay, well, thank you so much. Oh, Mark had something. I saw a hand.
Yes, sorry. Jacqueline, I heard Morristown, but I missed which church you're in here in Morristown?
The First Presbyterian Church on
Oh,
Bridgeboro Road.
Right. Okay. We have so many churches here in Morristown.
I know, quite a lot. Yeah.
And we certainly, being neighbors, if you have any, I can email you stuff or whatever, but we have all kind of summer camps and shows coming up that either people could be in the audience for, or their kids could be in the cast of. So that'd be great. Is your email, will that Jacqueline's email be on a list or something?
Yeah, I can connect you guys offline. I'll send you an email, both of you, so that you guys can make sure you connect offline.
That would be good. And I don't know if I mentioned that we are a nonprofit, so just want to add that.
Great.
I think we're all very nonprofit right now.
Right. More than we'd like to be a little bit at the moment.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you to everyone for joining us today. It was a great session. I really think it's important that we do these sort of informal kind of sharing meetings, just so we can make sure that we're all in alignment with the work that we're doing, and we're not duplicating efforts unnecessarily. So thank you very much. You'll get an email from me within a couple of days as soon as the video has a little bit of editing done, and I will include as many links and recap information as I can, so that you have it all written down in one place. Okay. All right. Well, thank you to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and please reach out if you have any questions at all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Mike.